Ada yang duduk di sana nggak? Boleh nggak? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's Fireside Chat with Tom Lembong, reflecting from past challenges and building future resilience for Indonesia. Can you all give a round of applause for our speaker today, Bapak Tom Lembong, has been building his professional career for years, from private sector, public service, and now here. And it is truly an honor to welcome him as we will talk about past challenges and how we can learn more about resilience. So within today's session, we'll have a fireside chat. My name is Nariswari, and I will be your moderator today. So today's event will go as follows. We'll have an opening from the president of PP Cambridge, Fikri, and then we'll have a fireside chat in which we will focus more on reflecting from the past, looking at the present, and moving forward as a nation. And after that, we will have a question and answer session. So if you have some burning questions, you may want to take notes and raise your hand. But before that, I would like to take a temperature check. So when it comes to resilience, we know that Indonesia has a lot of aspirations, and that includes 8% economic growth, becoming a developed country, becoming a better nation. But the data said that in the past 5 years, our economic growth is around 4 to 5%. So I would like to ask you, how positive or like how optimistic are you about Indonesia's resilience right now? So if you feel optimistic, you may raise up from your seat. If you're already optimistic about Indonesia's resilience, one out of 50 people here. And the second option is if you feel ambivalent or unsure about Indonesia's resilience, you can rise up. Oh, thank you. I think it's the majority, like more than half, Patom. Thank you so much. And the last, if you're still feeling pessimistic, we're in Cambridge, this is an academic city, so wow. Okay, so we'll see. Apparently today we have a lot of people who are still feeling ambiguous, unsure about Indonesia's resilience. We have Pak Tom who's leading with his optimism, and we'll talk more about that. But before, I would like to give the floor to Fikri to welcome you to today's event. Fikri, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the president of Cambridge Indonesian Student Association, first and foremost, it is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you all to the Fireside Chat today. Today, we gather to engage in an insightful discussion with Mr. Tom Lembong, a distinguished leader and a visionary in our nation's journey towards resilience and growth. The theme of our conversation today is reflecting from past challenges and building future resilience in Indonesia is particularly relevant as we navigate the complexities of our times. Indonesia has faced numerous challenges, from economic fluctuations to social issues, yet our spirit of resilience has always shined through. Mr. Lembong's extensive experience in both the public and private sector provides us with a unique perspective on how we can learn from our past and forge a stronger future. His insights will be invaluable as we explore strategies for overcoming obstacles and fostering resilience in our communities. So once again, thank you, Mr. Tom Lembong, for going all this way to Cambridge. Your presence here is a testament to your commitment to fostering dialogue and understanding about the challenges and opportunities facing Indonesia. I truly believe that many of us are eager to hear from you. Your insights and experiences will not only inspire us, but also equip us with the knowledge we need to contribute positively to our communities and our nations. I would also like to personally give my thanks also to Bang Haji for also supporting this event, as this would not also be possible without his help. I encourage everyone to actively participate in this dialogue. Share your thoughts and ask questions. Together, I believe we can contribute to an ongoing conversation about Indonesia's future. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Tom Lembong. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. So today's discussion felt very special because the host is Perhimpunan Pelajar Indonesia, and back in 1850, the first person who coined the term Indonesia is actually a British explorer. And the first society who used the name Indonesia was actually Indonesia's Vereniging or Perhimpunan Indonesia. So it's truly an honor to welcome Pak Tom in this framework. So the first question would be, you've had career across different sectors, from private sectors to government office. So what has been your biggest challenge and how do you navigate that? And what does resilience mean to you?
Well, first let me start by giving heartfelt thanks to all of you. Manares, Mas Fikri, Mas Aji, Mas Kevin, and so many people I cannot name one by one, but it's such a pleasure for me and my wife, Siska, to be here. Thank you so much for having me. As far as I can remember, my first time ever to Cambridge, actually, so it's great to be here. If you ask what's been my greatest challenge, right? I think if I try to be honest, I would always have to say myself. Myself is my greatest challenge, you know. Like, I kind of believe in this saying that the answer lies within. And that often also means that the problem lies within, right? And I think if we're brutally honest with ourselves, right, a lot of times the main challenge actually is within ourselves, is us, right? Our ego, our pride, our insecurities, our misguided expectations, maybe misshapen expectations, our misguided self-perception or misguided aspirations. And life is a journey of discovery, including a journey of self-discovery. And with every decade, you change. Every decade, you realize new things about yourself. The caveat being you have to gradually learn over time to become more and more honest with yourself, which is tough. That's really tough. One of my favorite sayings from my best friend of 28 years, right? It's like, "Matadong." But I don't know. I mean, your generation is better at that than any previous generation. But just since you asked about my personal experience, you know, yeah, it's ego, it's unwillingness to accept reality, it's lack of faith sometimes, right? We do in life sometimes get away from God, Allah, right? We get greedy, or we get seduced, or we lose our way, right? And hopefully we always find our way back to Allah, right? To God. To semesta. So two of my favorite words in Indonesia are, or in bahasa Jawa, are narimo and legowo. And you may or may not have seen my comment, you know, at one point, still in my trial, I think, right? That inmates in prison, right, who are Muslim, at one point taught me this wonderful word and concept from Islam called tawakal, right? So, and I think it's incredibly truthful and elegant concept, right? You go all out, you know, with your effort and your passion and your intention and your niyat. But at the end of it, you have to accept whatever result is God's will, right? Like, and believe that that's the best, you know, that God's plan is always perfect and God's will is the right way to go, right? And might not be what you expected, right? But if you have patience and acceptance, kepasrahan, gitu ya, then over time, it all makes sense. You know, in time, all shall be revealed, right? And like now, I look back on my career, and so many hardships, difficulties, challenges that you asked about, right? Feel like they all prepared me for what I had to endure over the last 12 months, right? And for whatever comes next, you know. So, yeah. So before we address a lot of institutional issues, political issues, you know, I don't know. Nowadays, when you ask, you know, what's your greatest challenge? Yeah, I only feel compelled to try to be transparent and honest and say, my greatest challenge is always going to be myself, right? Like keeping the faith, being disciplined, right? Being realistic, being humble. It's actually really hard. Arrogance creeps in unexpected ways, right? Seduction, you know, like suddenly having 1 million followers on Instagram, right? And like my daughter at one point told me, Dad, like the dopamine thing is real. So be careful, like getting addicted. You know, like, ooh, how many likes now? How many likes now? Like, you know, and then you get probably laugh at that, right? Because you guys are like over it, or you're over it. You know, for me it was like, woo, like, ooh, like it's got 600,000 followers. Woo, you know, it's like, and I mean, then if you reflect, right, that's vanity. That's vanity. Which is one dimension of pride and ego.
Thank you so much, Tom. That is really insightful and also interesting. Like before we address structural issues, we really need to look deep into ourselves, reflect on our ego. And it's also very fascinating that in order to move forward, what Tom was mentioning was to take a pause, like notice, oh, I'm feeling vanity, I'm feeling the dopamine hit from being popular. So that's super helpful. And it brings me to like my next question. So we've looked back and now we're looking at the present moment. So here you see the face of people from all over UK actually. I've met someone who traveled from London for this talk. And there are so many people who wanted to come here. We had like full sign up in 10 minutes. And so we are opening the live stream right now. So I want to ask you, like, for this present moment, what advice do you have for us, like the young people, to contribute meaningfully? Because sometimes as Indonesians who are far away, maybe we feel kind of like, oh, how do I even contribute? Like, what kind of skills or contribution can I give? So any advice on that?
Thank you. First, your contribution is needed more than ever before. Yeah, like our country needs us very quickly, but in a specific way, in a certain way. You know, on the politics of our country, for the diaspora, right, for all of us who are around the world. I think we just have to be patient. Yeah, be patient, please. Like, have patience, and you won't have to wait too long. But we do have to just let things shape themselves out. Yeah. I say this because I'm addressing the diaspora right now. My comments would be different if I was sitting in Jakarta, or like last week I was giving a public lecture like this to students in Undip, 800 students offline, and few hundred more online. So my advice is a bit different if you're in country, right? In business or in academia, but around the world, as far as the politics is concerned, don't worry too much about it. Things will shake themselves out, and you don't have to wait too long. Now, what can be our contribution from around the world, from the outside in? Of course, depends on your field of study, depends on your sector where you are currently endeavoring, right? Where you're currently building a career and so on. I presume, we're all active on social media, but maybe on different social media, depending on generation, age, sector. Of course, you already know this, but I will just reaffirm it. Please speak out, speak out. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Be courageous and be vocal. And express what's on your mind. Linking it back to my earlier comment, the answer lies within, right? And you don't have to be aggressive or critical if you don't feel like it or don't want to be, right? I think the key reminder for me is just be yourself, like be your real, authentic self, and don't feel pressure to be critical or don't feel pressure to be uncritical, right? Just be your best. Sorry, very cheesy, very it's like millennial, Gen Z, cheesy, schmaltzy thing. Be the best version of yourself, right? For our country, right? So whatever you have in mind about our country, say it out loud. Contribute to the flow that pushes the algorithm, right? Because now, scarily enough, the world's governed by algorithms more than ever before, right? They're hugely powerful and largely invisible, running in obscure data centers, right, around the world. But still, those algorithms are pushed around by us, right, by the public. And so, what is the ocean but trillions of drops of water, right? So every bit counts, every word, every sentence, every paragraph that you put out there is, contributes towards the flow, the flood, the tsunami someday. That's one. Number two, this is still early days, but the domestic economy is so dire. This is quite dire, right? That with our friends in the business community or small businesses or individual businesses, right? UMKM, I really urge everyone, especially the younger generation, to look outward, right? And the simplest way to explain it would be like anything that has export potential, both products and services. And people always underestimate the services part of it, right? So we have talented illustrators, graphic designers who go on online platforms to offer their services, right? Like Fiverr, or what is the other online platforms you can offer your services. And yeah, I've met quite a few architects who do work for clients in the US, in Europe, right? At very competitive prices, apparently, right? But you can market your services and your products, actually. That's one example where if you happen to be in that sector, right, whatever it is, like anything that's tradable, right? for example, if you're in architecture here, maybe you can outsource some of the architectural work to architects back in Indo, right? Doing CAD/CAM or doing architectural renderings, this sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, even though the world economy is having its own challenges, and Washington is adding quite significantly to those challenges, right? It's still better prospects than relying on domestic demand, internal to the Indian economy. Like purchasing power is very eroded, and that won't change for at least another year or two. And so, like it or not, we have to tap external demand, right? We'll probably revisit this question also in the Q&A. I don't want to talk too. So my weakness is I'm very verbose. I'm not a very concise or succinct person. So I'm going to apologize beforehand. The speeches I wrote for budget are very succinct. But that takes days and weeks of work to get it, chisel it down to a page and a half. Right? It's like with the UK, one of my all-time favorite phrases is from a writer named Lord Chesterfield. He once wrote a letter starting by saying, "My apologies for writing you such a long letter, but I did not have the time to write you a shorter one." So it's a perpetual struggle for me. I'm quite talkative, but I need to stop myself so I can, give people a chance to ask questions or guide me.
Thank you, Tom. And the last question, just to trigger this. So if we're looking at Indonesia, there's so many things that we can look at. And now that we have social media, there's a dopamine hit when we see something that makes us feel happy, but then there are also other things that make us feel not so happy.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to feel despair or sadness or frustration when we're away, we want to do something but we can't do it instantly. And it's so easy to feel hopeless probably in times like these. So what I would like to ask you is that looking forward in how Indonesia is growing, what gives you hope and why?
Well, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy because I'm staring at the answer in front of me. What gives me a lot of not only hope but sheer confidence, strong confidence in the future of the country is all of you. And I mean the millennial and Gen Z generation in particular, right? I mean, I've now been in government for 10 years, right? In bureaucracy, and then over time I went to electoral politics, right? And in that role, I traveled the country. I go to Daerah, right? I interact with all sorts of people. When I was in prison, particularly in Cipinang, had a chance to interact with a lot of young people from all sorts of backgrounds here, from all sorts of levels of society, including the most downtrodden, most forgotten, the most, but you guys, the millennial Gen Z, are the smartest generation in the 80-year history of the country, irrespective what your level of formal education is. Even if you only have an elementary school diploma, even if you only have a middle school diploma, because you guys started consuming global content from an early age on YouTube, on social media, right? You're the most informed, the most insightful, the most critical thinking, the most globalized generation ever in our country's history, right? And again, you guys are amazing. In my direct personal experience, you guys were the most vocal, the most daring, right? Criticizing my arrest, defending me on social media, right? And that's what ultimately led to the public pressure that I believe made the president and the party leaderships in parliament conclude that they almost have a choice, right? But to listen to the very, very loud chorus of public opinion about me by granting me this historic abolition based on our 1945 Constitution, only the 7th abolition ever issued in the history of our country. For me, in the first one in the 21st century, it's all because of people speaking out, right? And it's not only the courage to speak out that you guys have, right, but the critical thinking that enable people to follow my case and understand it and, you know, form a informed opinion about it. You know, it's not just like blindly following, you know, or it's not, you know, falling for hoax or propaganda or anything, right? You guys are able to distinguish what's fake and what's not, or what's, you know, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, right? What's logical, what's not logical. I'm very, very concerned, you know, quite pessimistic to be blunt about the next 1 or 2 years. But beyond that, over like a 5, 7, or 10-year horizon, I'm unabashedly optimistic, really, really optimistic. Apalagi, you know, all the more over like a 20-year horizon, I'm extremely, extremely optimistic. And I can share over time, you know, or later in this discussion, you know, more nuances on why I believe Indonesia is going to be one of the most important countries in the world 20 years from now, 30 years from now. It's got nothing to do with nickel. It's got nothing to do with copper or mineral resources or palm oil or anything. It's got everything to do with our people, our culture, our national character, our traditions, you know, our religions, our sense of togetherness, kebersamaannya, like our humor. There's a saying that humor is the highest form of intelligence, right? And you see it on social media every day, right? Like, nggak ada yang bisa ngalahin medicine kita. So nobody can beat our medicine when it comes to like mind bending, you know, eyebrow raising, hair raising, like comments and jokes and sarcasm and, you know, yeah. So.
Thank you for believing in us, Pak Tom. I think the fondness goes both ways. Like, you were also one of the statesmen that we look up to, and I think now I'm just going to give the floor to our audience for question and answer. So for the first round, I'm going to take 3 questions, and we'll open another one. So, any questions?
1, 2,
1, 2, 3. Okay. We'll go from there first. Please say your name, affiliation, and question.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Ini agak pressure ya Pak, tanya pertama kali. Okay, my name is Shinta. Previously I studied in Cambridge, Master of Finance, Pak. Sebelumnya di UGM, Jogja, jurusan Management, Faculty of Economics and Business. Dan sekarang dapat kesempatan untuk kerja di UK di bidang project finance, renewable energy infrastructure. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to have this kind of opportunity to meet with Pak Tom Lembong dan family ya, dan bosisku juga. Yeah, I have 2 questions, Pak. Mungkin dari berdasarkan historical career sejauh ini throughout your journey, what makes you switching career from private sector to the government? And yeah, we all know all the dynamics in Indonesian government, Indonesian political landscape, and etc. And what do you think about that? And all the dynamics in politics and etc. Did you regret it? Maybe it's such tough questions, but yeah. I want to know, I'm really inspired by you and your journey, and I think as a Gen Z here, like, yeah, I want to know about what's your thought, and maybe if you can share with us about that. And then my second questions, I'm interested with your statement. You are optimistic with Indonesian outlook. Like, it's interesting. I love economics. Yeah, since I was an undergrad, and here I'm in finance as well. What factors, or what is your outlook of Indonesian, Currently, we are here like just seeing Indonesian economics growing from here. But yeah, what is your view on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shinta. Second question.
Ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Good afternoon, Pak Lembong. My name is Dedi. I was a postdoc researcher at Cambridge University Engineering Department in AI about 18 years ago. So I've been here 27 years and I've been running business, quite lucky enough, in both countries, Indonesia and England. So my experience in Indonesia running a business in transportation has been very, very difficult. There are so many gangsters on the road. Either the gangsters, legal gangsters, which is like, we call it oknum, and also illegal gangsters, we call it preman. And during COVID, I had to shut down the company because there is no way that we can run the transportation business where there is like a limitation everywhere on the road. So there is no way. And the business here in the UK was quite promising at that time because the business, even though I import a lot of materials from Indonesia, including crafts and arts and furniture. But at that time during COVID, the economy in UK was fueled by furlough. It's like the money given by the government for the people to continue their life. And it was quite interesting for me because the sales that I made in this country was quite good enough. But then the economy in global now, including in the UK, I believe is quite slowing down. And for people like me, and I believe that there isn't much people like me running a business in both countries, it has been very difficult and very challenging. So in your experience, what would be like a solution or what would be like approaches that you can recommend for businessmen like me? Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, Pak Tom Lembong. I'm Heza from MBA. So Heza, yeah, we ran each other.
Yes.
Afternoon, I'm sorry to surprise you. I'm looking at our neighboring countries in Southeast Asia. Vietnam is defined by their mega projects in factories. And then we have Thailand with their agriculture and tourism. What defines Indonesian industry in the next 10 years? And I know you are a seasoned leader in the financial industry, in private equity. If you have to bet your money on it, which industry you will put your money on? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Or I believe it's like more like 5 or 6 questions.
So maybe let me answer this question first. How and why did I switch careers from private sector to public sector, right? So just now when a bunch of you from the Judge Business School stormed me, and we had so much fun taking group photo, and somebody said like serendipity. Pas banget kan? Like you guys were gathered in front of your gate, and we're just passing by, like. But serendipity plays a huge role in life and humanity. Right? And sorry to keep linking this back to rencana Tuhan, rencana Allah, yeah. But there is a plan. I really believe that there is a plan. There is a design. There are patterns in nature, right? And we experience it as serendipity. But again, decades later, when you look back on your life, ada benang merahnya. There's underlying theme to your life. There's certainly, and that's our task is to make sure that our life is driven by purpose, right? And when you move more and more towards a life with purpose, rather than a life without purpose or purely about money or purely about power or purely about fame, right? When you serve a higher purpose, you see a story unfolding across your life, right? Seemingly random things turn out to have had a significant impact in your career. And so in 2012, a friend just insisted that I had to meet this rising politician, right, who was just elected Chicago governor named Jokowi. And actually at that time I said that I'm way too busy. I can't do this, and I'm really, really busy, I don't have time and so on. But my friend prevailed, and so I met Jokowi for the first time in his Promadinas, it was a cordial and good conversation, but nothing special, right? And then my friend pushed again, right? And this time I brought a bunch of investors for like kind of a round table call it, right? And we met and we chatted, nothing special, right? But then I took a delegation of investors to Solo, and we took us around. Solo showed us, where this was built and what we thought in fact we could at his furniture factories. And I was in a car with him the whole day when we were on Solo, and that's when we really clicked. We really clicked, and he sensed it and I sensed it, and we really, really clicked, right? But it was very, very serendipitous, and it was fascinating. I mean, I became an economic policy advisor, gradually also a speechwriter. But it's only in 2015, as many of you know, that he got the idea to put me into the cabinet, right, by appointing me trade minister. And I don't think I ever envisioned that I would be a minister, right? I thought I'd be a banker, make as much money as possible, get rich, right? Which now is so not important to me, so much less important. I don't want to say it's not important, but there's much, much more important things in life, right, than getting rich, or like getting rich quickly, right? Especially if you have to sacrifice your morals, or like, they morally questionable shortcuts to do it, right, to get rich quick and so on. But serendipity, and so sorry. It's like a group therapy session. Yeah, I have this belief, guys, that 100% of human beings are actually lucky. Like we all get lucky, often. The difference is maybe only 20%, hopefully over time or more, right? Realize it when it happens. Most of the time we don't realize it when luck hits us squarely in the face. We think it's a debacle. We think it's a disaster, or we think it's nothing special. It's just something, no big deal, right? Only later, but other people realize, wait, this feels different. This is something different, and I think what enables people to realize when luck, Fortuna, the goddess of luck, right, strikes is open-mindedness, being open-minded, right, being open, not being stubborn or too opinionated, right? Like when you're open-minded and you're less egotistical, right? You're not like, you're humble, then it's like, oh wait, this could be a really good thing for me, right? So I can sort of say this now, right? A lot of people were really surprised when we didn't use me again after the first term, like when I was sort of ejected from the cabinet, right? And there's another story to that. He actually had other intentions for me. Right? As it turns out, he wanted to appoint me to something else, right? Which he then shared to me in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. But my friends, my partner, I thought it was a debacle, like a disaster. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, oh my God, how come, I'm being fired? I'm being let go. In cabinet, right? I mean, like, even some of the most senior politicians in the ruling coalition, right, thought that not only would I continue, I would be given heavier portfolio. I'd be like upgraded to like a more high-profile ministry, right? So it was a real shock when instead I was ejected from the cabinet. But now looking back, it was like, phew, right? Thank the Almighty that I was not part of that controversial second term. Trying to stick to polite language here, conscious of the live stream. But yeah, like it is really important. And so, sorry, long answer to your question. How did I switch? It was
Yeah.
amazingly serendipitous. And at first I was closed-minded. I was like, what's this got to do with my plan to get rid as rich as possible? But yeah, once I opened my mind, it opened up a whole world of possibility and changed everything, right? So, any regrets? And then optimism, what factors? You said you love economics, as do I. My son's getting into it now, using San Diego, he's a freshman, just for 7 years. Regrets, so I was mentioning to Manades, Mastikri, and others over lunch. The hardest thing I have to deal with right now, emotionally, is my regret over the extent of our policy failures over the 10-year Jubilee administration. And I feel a great sense of responsibility because I was a big part of it, especially certainly during the first term. But I mean, I have to confess, right? I have to be honest that I also co-architected or co-designed that economic strategy, economic policy. But the most heartbreaking things for me right now, which is really tough to deal with emotionally, are things like last summer, BPS, our official statistics agency, released a report, right, that over the preceding 6 years, our middle class shrank from 22% of our population to 17%. It's a loss of 15 million of our citizens from the middle class, sunk back to the lower income classes. And just a couple of months ago, World Bank released a report on the state of poverty in Indonesia and applying a poverty line of $7.85 per person per day. 60% of our population is now under that poverty line, right? And our statistics agency, BPS, uses $2 per person per day, or $1.14 in fact, with the exchange rate. What can you get for $1.14 per person per day? It's supposed to cover everything like food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, and what even at $7.85, 60% of our population is now below the poverty line, and so that's hundreds of millions of people, right? And I feel responsible. I feel responsible for that. So maybe that also drives me, drives my commitment, my determination to stay in politics, regardless of what happened to me, about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, 29 October, when I was arrested, famously. But yeah, I do have a lot of regrets, but hey, as the Americans say, let's make lemons into lemonade, right? Politics, optimism. So, what factors, what macroeconomic factors, what microeconomic factors drive or underpin my optimism? So, we can talk economics maybe a bit later. I feel a bit compelled to share a couple of anecdotes here. So one turning point for me happened in Davos. So when I'm in cabinet, Luciska and I, kind of went to Davos every year for 4 years in a a row, right? And I became like a good white LP of our delegation to Davos, every year. Organized a very popular Indonesian night reception at the Schweitzer Hotel during the Davos conference and so on, right? And also in a very, again, very lucky, right, to be invited to a very exclusive, closed door discussion with only like 50 people. And IMF had Christine Lagarde was there, and then Ukrainian president was there, and then Singapore Deputy Prime Minister, Finance Minister Tarman was there, Monty was Tarman, and Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, right, asked different people to share their comments, right, and so a closed door discussion. And he asked Tarman to share some thoughts. And Tarman said over the previous 30 to 40 years, the sexy sector in public policy has been economic policy. While he thought what was actually more important or more fundamental was social policy, right? That the rise of economic policy, right, and the fame of economists and our obsession with economics and markets and economies and all that came at the expense of attention to social policy. Now, if you think about Singapore, where Tarman was finance minister, among other things, and is now president, right? From the very beginning, they had very clear social vision and social policy, right? Prioritizing healthcare and education. And I used to think that, I was a Wall Streeter, right? I was an investment banker, I was a Wall Streeter. I always thought the economy comes first. And most policymakers, including like Louis and myself at the time, say circa 2014, would think that economy comes first. And once you have a big and healthy economy and you have plenty of money, then the healthcare and education issues will have money to pay for them, or will take care of themselves or something, right? Now I believe the exact opposite. Now I turn 180 degrees, right? I believe the countries that are successful prioritize health and education first, and then also things like institutions, right? Institutions and kelembagaan, and law and order, right? And then it's almost automatic that your economy will be successful. Yeah, and sustainably successful. I mean, if you make social policy, education, healthcare as an afterthought or as like a secondary priority, you'll get lucky once in a while with the economy, like we're a commodities-based economy, and we'll catch a commodities boom, and we'll also suffer the commodities bust, right? Or we'll catch the wave, right? But it'll always be this up and down, right? 3 steps forward, 2 steps backward. Whereas the countries that put social policy first, they just go from strength to strength. Switzerland, Scandinavian countries, right? Singapore, possibly Canada, Australia, right? I mean, they always just have the human capital to benefit in an upswing or a downturn, right? They're almost immune to global economic cycles because they can capitalize in a crisis or exploit the situation in a downturn, and they can really capitalize in an upswing. Right? And again, happy to talk more about things like money supply or monetary policy, fiscal policy, industrial policy, and more sort of economy. But I just want to get out there that I've become a bit of a convert. Obsession with economic policy and markets and industry and all that. Now I really want to focus on public health, public education, literacy, institutions, and maybe a international right? Like, I had to go through that experience, that directly experiencing the injustice of our apparat, of our lots of agencies, of our judicial system, right? To develop the empathy and passion for reforming the system. Maybe, but so Badevi, amazing 27 years in AI engineering. Yeah, look, again, the next 1 to 2 years is going to be tough in Indonesia. I wouldn't advise doing too much, to be honest. And probably most people prefer to not say it out loud. Like most business people will just keep quiet, but frankly, nobody's investing. And people are trying to take as much money out of the country as they can. And that's rational, right? That's natural, given the extent to which rich business people are being criminalized. State enterprise executives are being criminalized, right? And more than a few people from state enterprises, have told me in recent weeks that all their private sector partners, vendors, suppliers, customers, just want to do as little as possible. Want to wind down to the bare minimum that they can, right? Because everyone's got no appetite, considering the criminalization and the policy challenges. Would go as far as to say policy incoherence that we're experiencing at the moment. But again, to repeat a little bit my earlier point, there's so much opportunity in tapping global demand and tapping global opportunities for partnerships, collaboration. And right now, President Trump and others are flooding the zone, as the Americans call it, right? Like non-stop, wall-to-wall coverage, just everything's about President Trump. It's easy to forget that the climate crisis continues unabated. The environmental crisis continues unabated. The food security challenge continues unabated. I mean, these are all continuing while we get busy with the sensation of the day, or the scandal of the day, or the fireworks. All of these challenges continue, and we still have to work on the energy transition. Like it or not, we still have to work on things like antibiotic resistance. Like it or not, we still have to work on the microplastics challenge. Like it or not, right? I mean, again, there'll be popular or populist politicians who will distract us, right, with other issues. But again, being scientific, being educated, and if we go based on facts, data, and reality, we've got these major issues to deal with: global warming, climate crisis, water stress, like access to clean water, right? Again, microplastics, microbial resistance. If you think antibiotic resistance is scary, wait until you start studying or thinking about antifungal resistance, fungus that are resistant to antifungals. So fungus, I mean, not to go all zombie, but HBO Max has the blockbuster series, right? What is it called?
Last of Us.
The Last of Us. That's a fungus. Christine Hawking was in the first or second episode of the first season, right? And gee, thanks. Apparently the fungus infection, the fungus apocalypse started from Indonesia. That series, but well, at least we're being talked about. The American people say there's no such thing as bad publicity. So some free, though ambivalent advertising for our country there. But no, these are all on ongoing challenges that have to be addressed. And actually, every challenge is a massive opportunity. I mean, something like 2 or 3 times as many people in the USA work on renewable energy installations, like installing solar panels, installing wind turbines, servicing wind turbines, right? And so on, as the number of people who work in the oil and gas sector. Right? Today, China exports roughly twice as much renewable energy products every year as America exports oil and gas products. Mostly LNG, so US exports LNG, exports so jet fuel, refined fuels, and other things, hydrocarbons. But China exports solar panels, lithium-ion batteries, wind turbine components, and other, other renewable energy. Oh, of course, EVs, electric cars, BYD being foremost among them. So China now exports twice as much in dollar value of renewable energy products as the US exports every year in hydrocarbons. But think about the difference, right? When you import a hydrocarbon, whether it's natural gas or jet fuel, you burn it, and it's gone. When you import a solar panel, it will produce electricity for you every year for the next 25 years. When you import a battery pack, it'll serve you for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, right? And so China and US are exporting 2 very different things, but which one will have more impact? Which one, in so many dimensions, right? Soft power, diplomacy, economic impact. I mean, China's exporting productive assets. I mean, China's exporting assets will produce energy for you, and US is exporting a consumable that you're consuming, right? It's consumption is not an asset that you're importing a raw material. So the opportunity remains massive, but linking it back to my earlier point, be patient for another 1 or 2 years. Yeah, but in the meantime, if there's anything that can help in connecting micro, small, medium, even large enterprises of all kinds inside Indo to networks in the UK, European Union, right, USA or North America, Korea, Japan, Australia, Canada, any place, in any sector, in any dimension. I think globalization continues to represent one of the biggest opportunities for Indonesia because we're so under-globalized. We've actually de-globalized over the last 10 years, right? I mean, so many indicators that we do on. So foreign investors used to own something like 40 to 50% of all our government bonds, right? And now that percentage is down to about 14%. Yeah, so fewer and fewer international investors invest into our government's bonds, right? And part of it has to do with what's called quantitative easing, right? So during COVID, central bank printed money, like many other central banks, and used that to buy government bonds. So one of the biggest owners of our government bonds now is our own central bank. And that's not unique to Indonesia. It's also true for Japan, for the USA, for even the UK. But still, it's an example where we've kind of de-internationalized, right? Like fewer and fewer international investors are investing in our stock market, in our bond market, and so on. And we need to re-internationalize, we need to re-globalize, we need to rejoin the global economy, we need to rejoin the global capital markets and the global investor base, right? And I think all of us in the global diaspora have a unique position, right? And a unique opportunity to assist in ways, large or small, direct or indirect, openly or secretly, right? In our respective spheres of activity. Let's hear that. So, you want some investment advice, right? sector to invest in.
Yeah, more like which sector, not just invest in money,
Understood.
but invest our
Understood.
resources.
Understood. So, because we're on the YouTube live stream, I'm a little bit limited in what I want to say right now, but once the live stream stops, you can talk to me again. And I'll share with you our proprietary insights that I am not yet ready to share with the entire world, or even the entire public, right? Because I don't think it's the time yet. You know? To give you a sneak preview, it's completely different sectors from what anyone thinks right now. Not surprisingly, right? And there are sectors, people will be surprised by how quickly these sectors can mushroom. Sorry, I was just talking about zombies. You know, how quickly these sectors can snowball and really big. I mean, yeah, in hindsight, never regrettable, but at the time, I didn't know any better, right? So when I was at the American hedge fund, we financed a lot of leverage write-outs of coal mines, including the largest in Indonesia called Tadaro, right? And you know, a lot of money financing coal mining in the early 2000s, but you might be familiar with, of course, Santiago, right, former tourism minister and VP candidate. And he and his partner would buy a good Gaya on an investment company called Saratoga, right? And at one point, a 51% stake in Adaro became available in 2002, right? From the bank that had confiscated those shares due to a loan default and offered it up to the market, right? And Saratoga, like Mr. Gaya, as an neighbor, effectively bought 51% of Adaro for like $50 million. 3 years later, they would sell it to us, consortium of international investors led by Fairlawn Capital, where I was working at the time, but also including Goldman Sachs and Citibank and others, right? So 3 years later, it was sold at $50 million stake for about $450 million. So they made 9x on their $50 million in 3 years. And then another 3 years later, right, they IPO'd the company, and that 51% is probably worth like $1 billion, you know, $1 billion plus. Today it's going to be worth like 2 or 3 billion, right? Even though coal prices are going down again. And to me, the future of coal is not that positive, right? But the reason I bring it up is how quickly it went from small to giant, right? And back then, nobody think coal mining would be a good business. Nobody thought, you know, coal mining would make billionaires. But it did, you know, from at one point, Bumi Resources, which had acquired Arutmin first, and Arutmin coal mine, and then the Calpin Prima coal, KPC coal mine, you know, became the largest market cap stock on the stock exchange and made probably the richest man in Indonesia, right? That was during the coal mining boom in the 2000s. But of course that boom faded, you know. Coal mining is what it is today, right? But again, I would argue the future is very uncertain, given how China is making renewables cheaper and cheaper all the time, and given the pace of innovation in renewable energy technologies, which at least some of you in the audience know a lot about. Yeah, there are sectors that people will think like, what? Like that? Oh, hard to believe, you know. It's never been interesting, never been sexy, right? But I really believe they'll be really big and important sectors for our economy for the next 10, 12, even 18, 20 years, right? Another hint I will give you is linking it back to my earlier point, right? Like my supreme confidence in the future of Indonesia based on the younger generations. We routinely top global surveys in indicators like the most generous people on the planet. have a great culture. We're polite, sopan santun, right? Halus, right? And indigent workers at all levels are hugely popular everywhere in the world, right? And I always say, right, like, and a question I get a lot also, so you don't have to ask it again here, you know, so he's like, well, patong lalaki Indonesia, right? He said, Indonesia is a very easy, sorry, Indonesia and Indonesians are an easy country to love and an easy people to love. I mean, we're just like the kindest, the most good-hearted, you know, except the elites. So all the problems, all the things that we hate about our people is all elites. Corruption, you know, hypocrisy, like laziness, greed, kampongan, whatever, right? It's like, that's all the elites, but middle class on down, my experience is mostly truly, truly wonderful people, right? And so, couple of platitudes, sorry, to save time, right? I'm very talkative, sorry. It's a simple reality that, so let's look at global trade. Global trade. How will we be export competitive? How can we compete in the global economy, right? There's a saying that people will do business with the people they like. And Indonesian people are just among the most likable people on the planet. I mean, I've been everywhere. I've been everywhere. I've lived in Germany. I grew up in Germany as a child. I did high school and university in the US. I traveled all around the world, as you know, as a cabinet minister, also as an investor. And yeah, Indonesian people are like the kindest, you know, among the most charismatic, most trustworthy people in the world. And so I owe my freedom from imprisonment and persecution and prosecution to my lawyers, of course. The son of one of whom is in the audience today, but I also owe it to likability. You know, so I told some of my fellow inmates who were also criminalized, right? And they felt outraged, right? They were like, really, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything, right? They were really angry, right? And they kept saying so. And I reminded them, look, judges, in fact, human beings, right? When they like somebody, it's almost like you can do no wrong. But once they don't like you, you can do almost nothing right. Yes? You know, so like and dislike drives human behavior much more than we like to admit. We like to think, oh, you know, it's logical reason or this rational reason, but actually we're much more driven by our gut and we're much more reactive. We're much more reactive. And that's actually 700,000 years of human evolution. You know, fine-tune our antenna. Sorry, as you know, I spent a lot of time in the US, I use a lot of American terms, you know. The bullshit detector, right? That's very innate to our species because we need to detect, right? If we're living in the jungle or living in caves or something in nature, we have to detect when somebody's not trustworthy. It's life and death out there in the jungle, right? And it continues to this day. And again, Indonesian sincerity, Indonesian authenticity, Indonesian honesty, Indonesian kindness, Indonesian warmth. We were exactly the kind of people that other people, especially on business school, want to do business with. You know? Lastly, let me say that think about anything that requires the human touch. Those are immune to being substituted by robots or software or AI. Like the whole point is for it to be a human interaction, right? So Usuke and I have a massage chair at home. And we use it, right? But we still love going to the spa. We still love going for a whole massage. I mean, I have a landana that I call to my house once a month or thereabouts. Because I like really hard massage, you know, like really hard, you know, get in there, like deep tissue, you know, sports massage. But that's the whole point, is to be treated by a human masseur or therapist, not by a massage chair or a machine, right? And so, I'm sure AI is an active topic of discussion in your classwork and your policy work and research, right? But I believe the rise of AI will expand the premium for human touch. Yeah. And I'm supremely confident that as Indonesians, we'll be champions at the human touch, right? And so from there, you can begin to imagine what sectors might be our competitive advantage within the global economy. But yeah, it makes no sense for us to try to compete against China in certain kinds of manufacturing. It doesn't make sense for us to try to compete with India in certain knowledge-intensive sectors, right? We got to play to our strengths, but back to my earlier point about the critical importance of humility and putting aside our egos, right? Like, let's be humble, let's be real, let's be honest, what we're actually good at versus what our politicians, you know, tell us we should be good at, right? And that will dictate what sectors will be good in the future.
Thank you, Baton. That was very interesting. So in order to build resilience, we can build infrastructure and everything, but at the heart of it, we need to not lose our humility and humanity. And because it's a fireside chat and we still have some time, I'm going to give a space for some rapid fire question. So 1 sentence question, your name, your background, 1 sentence questions. 3 questions, anybody? 1,
2, 3.
2.
1, 2, 3. I
Okay.
think 1, 2, and 3.
Can you please move forward here so that the microphone can be passed on? 1? Yeah. 1,
2,
2, and 3. Okay. Yeah, can you?
Hello, Tom Lembong. My name is Delin. I'm living here as a dependent of my husband who is pursuing PhD at the University of Cambridge. It's very interesting to hear your story about your experiences in politics. And I would like to ask you, based on your experiences, what would you consider if you are given another opportunity to become a part of the Indonesian government in the future in the first place? Thank you.
Thank you, so rapid fire question number 2.
All right. Hi, Pa. I'm Ovi. I'm from University of Cambridge. I'm an anthropologist. Can you please tell me a bit about your experience in a prison and how would you connect this to your repertoire of serendipitous moments?
Thank you, Ovi. Rapid fire question number 3.
Hello, Pak Tom. My name is Ahab. I'm doing MBA. My question is, as for future policymakers, as good decision can be framed as bad and even crimes, what are your advice for us to be more prepared to maybe overcome that situation? Because it's inevitable, I believe. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Like, good policy can be framed as bad policy?
Yeah, so if we are in the future become a policymaker, what's your advice on, probably on the process of we make the decisions to get us more ready if it can be framed the other way in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We have 10 minutes for this.
Sorry, but Dylan, I was so busy writing husband teaching at Cambridge University.
I'm dependent here of my husband who is
Yes.
pursuing his PhD at the
And the
University of
question
Cambridge.
was,
My question is, what would you consider if you...
if I get an offer.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
join
yeah,
them,
yeah.
An offer to join, yes, that's right. Sorry. Three words for this question. This government, Kedua, colon, no. Simple.
This government, no.
Yeah. Rapid fire.
Yeah.
OE experience in prison, eye-opening, really eye-opening. And again, I gotta believe it's God's plan, part of God's plan. There's many things I learned that I now believe there's no other way I could learn them. But to experience it myself, to go through it myself, right? I interacted with people I would never have interacted with. People who were jailed for narcotics offenses, rape, murder, assault, people who were framed or entrapped by law enforcement agencies. You know, a lot of people were criminalized, were innocent, and it's mind-blowing. It's really mind-blowing, like how it happens, how criminalization in our country happens, and again, the truth will come out. You know, when the time's right, but we will all be very, very shocked. You know, and now I know the innermost secrets of that situation, that process of how people are criminalized and extorted. Masaha, advisor policymakers. I gotta go with some of Pa Anis's simple observations here. So when he was Jakarta governor, his motto was Jakarta Kota Kolaborasi. It's all about collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Right? It's now been such a long time since we've had this, but people forget that it's actually customary to do what's called public consultation on any policy. And when I first joined the cabinet, we talked about it, you know. So we have this horrible tradition or horrible practice in the bureaucracy in Indonesia. We don't pre-publish draft regulations, like Peraturan Menteri, right? And we used to actually a long time ago pre-publish rancangan undang-undang. So we widely circulated, especially to academia, to experts, to lembaga peneliti, and we would actively seek public comment, right, on draft legislation. I don't know that ever extended to draft regulations, like draft peraturan pemerintah, draft government regulations, draft perpres, draft permen. And when I was State Minister, I experimented with that actually. I asked for permission and I talked to SESMEC, SESCOP, whatever, asked my Inspector General, right, to check. There's no law prohibiting this, right? So I used to circulate my draft regulations, my draft rancangan peraturan menteri for public comment. But we're all familiar with this concept of crowdsourcing, right? But yeah, number one, easy win is like just involving the public, like opening up the policy making process to the public and being transparent about what you're designing in terms of the draft legislation, draft regulation, and asking for public comment on it, right? I mean, legislation and regulation is supposed to be there to serve people, not to serve policymakers, right? Our job is to formulate them, right? To enforce them, to implement them, but they're not supposed to be serving policymakers, they're supposed to be serving the public, right? And so the public knows best what they need and what they want, right? And so involving them is obvious. So I mean, it's up there. That's no longer rapid fire. Sorry.
It's okay. We still have 10 minutes. If
More
there's-
questions?
Yeah,
Or-
10 minutes or another rapid fire.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Ready?
1,
Yeah.
come up front. 2,
2, 3.
Yeah.
Dracula.
2, 3, stand. Prepare your rapid fire question.
I'm Rara from MBA. Rara. If I found the serendipity, like the same as you in the future, maybe it's like a yes or no question. Should I say yes or not, like into the government? Because like currently I work in a business sector, and then like if someday I got the opportunity, should I say yes or not? Just that.
Okay.
And then what should I prepare for that? Thank you.
Consideration if you enter public service.
pointer number 2. Can you move forward?
Hello, my name is Ratu. I'm currently working in Cambridge as a compound management scientist in AstraZeneca, so I'm involved in drug discovery. When you mentioned that you were very interested in healthcare and how we in Indonesia should look at that before the economy, I was very interested on what your insight is at the current healthcare environment in Indonesia and how the current government is dealing with it and what your future outlook and wishes are for it. Thank you.
Halo Pak Tom, saya Nika, background dari finance. Really interested because Pak Tom mentioned about literacy. Even your background also investment and the others. Because currently I'm developing a platform for the literacy for children and parents reading together. Because I came here with my daughter, and then the big difference is when I come here and my daughter always bring a book back every day, and we should read together. There's a reading log. If I miss one day, the teacher will write, don't miss it, and they put the big announcement in the front of the classroom. Please read with your children. So that's why I want to develop the platform that parents can read together with their children. And then I know that you always shared about the book recommendation, like Why Nation Fail. I like that book also. And then, and my question is maybe, is it also the time for Bu Siska can share the experience with you together, how you develop reading with your children? And then, can you recommend one book that maybe it's good for discuss together with our children? Because here, we only know to read, but my daughter always have a quiz from the book. They have a quiz in the school. It's state school, public school, not international school. State school. Like every book, they should answer the question. There's a report, like 60%, 10%. So it's like not only reading, but also in the understanding. And our PISA is always, it's 3 years, every PISA assessment, and down, right? And then our neighbor, Singapore, number one. Why Indonesian government propose MBG? Makan bergizi instead of reading together every day. It's simple, but why? Right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mami. That was a very clear question.
If in the future you're offered to be government, right? Well, first of all, of course, listen to your heart. Right? Don't listen to your brain. So I have this new concept. So my father was a hyper intellectual, an ultra rationalist. So we were brought up to be rational, logical, get top grades, chase academic prestige, right? Now I have this chart which I have to create sometime, right? But at the top is the brain, and the smallest part of us, actually. Below that you have the heart, and it's much, much bigger than the brain. And below it again, you have something very, very large, and that's your soul. And it's vast and interconnected, right? Now, ultra-capitalism, and then I need to say I strongly believe in private enterprise and market-oriented economy, right? But ultra-capitalism ultimately tries to get us to sell our soul, gets us away from our soul, right? It plays to some parts of our heart, our lust, our desire, our greed, right? It plays to our brain. It makes sense to buy this. It makes sense to invest in this. It makes sense to consume this or consume that. But what it is, doesn't make sense. It's just purely greed or lust or desires, right? But our soul, if you can tap your soul, That's where the higher purpose lies, right? That's where faith lies. That's where goodness and balance and peace and calm come from, right? And so listen to your heart, right? The better parts of our heart, conscience. But yeah, I think, and again, I think your generation has started it, right? Like the whole quiet quitting. In China, they have lie flat. What else? They also have something in Indonesia. But yeah, I think you guys are getting away from the branded goods, the status chasing, looking for purpose, looking for peace, looking for connection, like real connection, like at the soul level. So listen to your soul if you can, right? Sometimes, matter of time, is it the right time or the wrong time to join government? You know, so that's why I said, right? This government? No. A future government? Definitely, definitely. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I would go back to government, just not this one. And I mean no disrespect actually. Like look, this government is what it is, right? But I know that I will not fit in. I will not fit in. You know, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm just saying that I definitely will not fit in, and I will not be effective. So, healthcare, Manatu. I think we're in a terrible situation, public health-wise, quite frankly. We have the highest smoking rate of any major country in the world. Like 70% of our adult males smoke. Gosh, I haven't had time to cross-check this. It could be a hoax, but on my Instagram feed, the algorithm served me up some meme where it claimed that we are now the shortest people on the planet. Right, so in Stanford University did a study that ranked us like number 4, number 6, like laziest people on the planet as far as steps per day. And go everywhere by motorcycle, right? Or motorcycle, by ojek, by car. So we don't walk much. But things will change. Things will change. And here's an example where you guys can also help, right? Where we all can help. So in Undip Semarang last week, during my kuliah umum, my lecture, one slide I put in the back is just a simple statement, which is knowledge is power. Pengetahuan adalah kekuatan. Right? It's amazing how people just like knowledge. And this brings me to the point about literacy. So yes, literal literacy, like reading skill is important, reading and writing skill, but actually what I meant is all kinds of literacy, like financial literacy, business literacy, like political literacy, like knowing the basics of things and how things work and how they're supposed to work, right? And so I think this is really, really key. So similar to my point about the economy, right? That fix the social aspects first, and the economy will take care of itself almost, right? Like fix the knowledge gap, and it will solve so many things. But the key, I think, is social media. It's the reality we live in, and so whatever educational content we want, to get through to people, has to be entertaining, has to be engaging, has to be formatted like it's for social media, right? Nobody's gonna read like, fewer people are gonna read like 70-page PowerPoint in PDF, right? More and more people will expect to watch it in a 7-minute video or in a 12-minute video, right? And I think the same will apply for literacy, knowledge, public health knowledge, like personal health knowledge, energy transition, all these things will need to be in 3-minute videos, 5-minute videos, 7-minute videos, 20-minute podcasts, 40-minute podcasts, right? That's the medium for the message in the 21st century. whether we like it or hate it, right? But that's reality, and we have to do it in a social media savvy way. Books to read with your children. I think the only thing I can say is follow them, don't make them follow you, right? So if they love fantasy, like books like Narnia, the Narnia books, C.S. Lewis, or Lord of the Rings, or something, right? Or if you're a big sci-fi fan like me, right? And also I wouldn't be too picky. Like, I would say comic books even are totally fine, right? So I guess again, that Zen mindset, right? Denamaksa, right? Don't force something, we feel peer pressure, we feel parental pressure, we feel internal pressure, we wanna make our kids better than we are, or we silently carry insecurities or traumas from our own past or childhood, and we inflict certain things on our kids because of that, right? But, again, move from brain to heart, and from heart to soul, and put our ego and selfishness and insecurities and traumas aside, right? And truly put the child first, right? For who he is or who she is, first and foremost, and innermost, right? And we follow them, and let them do some bookstore, right? Like, let them choose their books, and we accompany them. Our role is to be a good companion to them as they develop their innermost and from their innermost true selves.
Thank you, Patong. That is a very broad conversation. Let's give a round of applause. The rapid fire questions and everything has been very heartwarming to hear. So I think now that we're at the top of the time, I'm just going to give the space for Patong to give a closing statement before we end the formal discussion. So any closing statement?
Again, cannot thank you all enough for being here today, offline and online. You all give me strength, you all give me energy, right? You all give me ideas. Yes, you picked an excellent overarching topic for today, which is resilience. And we will meet lots of that over the next 1 or 2 years in Indonesia and for Indonesia, right? And going back to the point I started with, the answer lies within our brains, but even more so in our hearts and our souls. And the other thing, throwing this, like the last, Hail Mary pass, the last kick to the goal. A lot of times the solutions, the answers are right in front of us. We just don't see them, right? But aside from having faith that all shall be revealed in due course, right, at the time of us choosing, again, let's keep working on ourselves, right? Like, keep cutting down our egos, keep cutting down our stubbornness, keep cutting down our prejudices, insecurities, but next 1 or 2 years will be tough. But change is coming faster than people expect. And you're right. Let's do whatever we can to be ready for that moment. Yeah. But when change comes, usually it comes ferociously and all at once, right? Sorry, again, very American, right? Bottle of tomato ketchup. Well, now they make a big neck one, but it used to have a very narrow neck, and used to shake a tomato ketchup bottle, right? And in the beginning, very little will come out, and you keep shaking, very little comes out, and then suddenly the whole bottle comes out, like suddenly it comes out. Or maybe in the UK more politically, like when it rains, not really, it's more for the tropics, when it rains it pours, right? So here it just drizzles. No, but when change comes, it can come quite ferociously. Human beings are naturally inclined to think in linear terms. When something's going up, we tend to think it'll keep going up forever. When something's on the way down, when something's trending down, we keep thinking it's going to trend down forever, right? But life and the world don't work like that. Actually, life and the world are shaped and driven continuously by non-linear events, external shocks, internal shocks. You know, every 2 or 3 years we get the once every 100-year flood, right? Other things like there was a saying, you know, Walmart at one point was the most powerful corporation in the United States, and you know, Sam Walton, the founder, used to joke, yeah, Walmart is an overnight success, 27 years in the making, right? So you know, a lot of things are happening, we just don't see them, but they're happening. They're happening, obscured by sensations, by populism, by pencitraan, and other things. But yeah, let's keep working on getting back to our true selves. And for many of us, our religion will help a lot. Our faith will help us contemplate, right? Confess our sins, get back to our true selves and to our soul, right? And that's where the solutions ultimately lie. So that's what I can share today. And once again, thanks so much to everyone.
So I think it's been a very fruitful discussion, and after this we'll move forward to the informal networking. But if I may summarize, I think today's discussion would be about TOM, Tom. T for think of how the need of the world and our talent cross the planet vocation. O for observing opportunities to balance the brain, the heart, and the soul purpose. And M for move in alignment with higher purpose and good faith. So again, thank you so much, Pak Tom. So here at the committee, we'd like to give you a token of appreciation for your willingness to participate. Thank you for not bailing on us. Like you mentioned, I'm too busy for this, but thank you for not bailing on us. So here we have a tote bag from Cambridge University Press, and inside you will find some things. We have bookmark and also a mug so that you can have a warmth of Cambridge with you. And we're very honored because
thank you.
Yeah. And now we will invite you to take picture with everyone. So,
okay.
So yeah, we'll just stand up here. Yeah.
We